everybody, what's going on? Neptune Plays here, and welcome to my first ever manga review. So, if you've seen the title, which I'm sure you have, I am now reviewing Deathnote, and man, this is a series that I probably should not have started out reviewing. I feel like I could have reviewed something much easier, like Splatoon, which is 10 out of 10, best manga, nice. Anyway. The reason why I decided to review Deathnote is because it was something that I literally just finished reading, and it was fresh on my mind, and I have a lot to say about it. I sort of, like, think in my head, like, what I think about this if I were to make a video on it, but I never do, which I need to improve on. I think that from now on, what I'm going to do is when I finish a series, I just gotta go and record as quick as possible. So, Deathnote. If you don't know what this series is, which I highly doubt you don't, because it's literally the most popular manga out there. So Deathnote is basically about this thing called the Deathnote, which is possessed by Shinigami, who, if you write the name of someone while looking at their face, they will die. Now there's definitely, there's more to it than that. There's more rules and more things that you have to do, more things you have to watch out for, and so on and so forth. And so this guy named Light Yagami stumbles upon the notebook and decides to try it out. When he figures out that this is no scam, that it's real, and that the Death Note actually works, he starts to use it to kill all the criminals who are on death row. So basically Light just starts killing a bunch of criminals in order to make a new world, and people start calling him Kira, which basically means, I think it means death, actually. No, it means killer, that's what it means. So for a while, Light goes uncontested, then he finally meets Ryuk, and then we get introduced to L, who is everyone's favorite character. Everyone loves L. He's amazing. Then a battle ensues between Light and L, where they're both trying to discover each other's identities. That way, Kira can write down L's name in the notebook and have him killed, and L wants to find out who Kira is, that way he can have him locked up or possibly executed. Now the story at this point is fantastic. Everything is just so intriguing and so incredible to read. The encounters between L and Light and how they literally meet each other, but they can't find out each other's identities. It is a thrilling battle between Kira and L to see who will win, and honestly, I didn't really choose a side. People tend to go either, Team Light or Team L, and I didn't choose a side. I was a biased reader. All I did was just watch and read and see what the story was about. And so what I liked about this part especially is that L was an incredibly good detective, and he was good because not only did he get a lot of stuff right, but he also came up with other possibilities that people could have thought very easily. When I was reading Deathnote, I was thinking, okay, well, here's the right answer. We already know the right answer because we're the reader, we're the spectator, we know everything, right? But L doesn't know that, so he'll come up with the right answer, of course, because he's just that good, but he'll also come up with other scenarios that have popped into our minds. And that's what I love especially about L, is he's not super unrealistic and super, super accurate in an unhuman level. He thinks about things that, people will obviously have crossed their mind, and then disprove them using logic. So this part of the story was absolutely incredible. I loved it all through and through. In fact, I really wanted it to stop there. I really wanted the story to stop between Light and L, just to see who won. If someone won, they won, that was it. But I did not want it to continue on to the second half, which is around volume 7, where basically they introduce new characters to defeat Kira, called Nier and Mello. I absolutely hate Nier. I do. The reason why I hate his character so much is because he's so overpowered. At times, Nier comes up with only one assumption to some sort of evidence that he's been given or some sort of idea that he's been given. He only comes up with one outcome, and it always ends up being the right one. So the difference between him and L is that L actually considered other possibilities. Even though he knew they were wrong, he would still bring it up, and he would, prove it wrong through logic and reasoning. Nier didn't do that. He just kind of guessed it on the nose every time. There were a couple of times, yes, towards the end, when he sort of, outsmarted Light, because he actually brought up different scenarios and possibilities, and he disproved them. I like that. I really do. Let's say a scenario popped up to where, I don't know, there could have been several different possibilities. I would have at least liked him to bring up those possibilities and to disclose them, because, you know, even I thought while I was reading it, well, what if this happened, you know? How could he just come to that conclusion so easily when there were plenty of other possibilities and ways that this could be interpreted? And so that's what I didn't like about Nier, is he sort of had this overpowered superpower where he just kind of knew the right answer right away. So essentially it's like Nier knew the end goal and how it was going to happen. It's like Nier could see into the future, and it was kind of annoying. It was. And that's why I just don't like Nier. I don't like how he took out Light. I don't like that. I don't like that Nier was the final hero. I really don't. I don't like it. But one thing that was interesting, though, was to see Light at the end. I had watched the anime prior to reading Death Note, but I have never read the manga. And so when I read the manga and I saw the ending, it's a lot different from the anime. In the anime, Light runs out of the warehouse and starts booking it. And, you know, Ryuk, like, writes his name in the Death Note. And he ends up, like, dying on some stairs or something like that. And it was really stupid. But in the manga, he actually died in the warehouse pleading to Ryuk to say, help me, like, get me out of this, man. And that's when Ryuk realizes, like, hey, if you're pleading to me, it's truly over, so I gotta write your name down, bud. And then that part at the end with Misa, in the anime, she ends up going to, like, the top of a building, and we kind of assume that she killed herself because, you know, Light was kind of her reason to live. But in the manga, she ends up going up a mountain with a bunch of people in robes and then sticks a candle on the mountain peak, and they're, like, praying to Kira, hoping that he'll return. So that was an interesting little end or difference from the anime that I had never seen. So I definitely like that one better because, you know, it actually shows it's kind of like a less dumb ending, I guess, because I thought that the part with Light running out of the building and just kind of like falling around and dying on stairs is just kind of weird, you know? I felt like it would have been better if he just died right then and there, and so he did. And so, you know, that was a good ending for me. Rereading Death Note and seeing how Nier actually tricked Light was great. I'm glad that they came to that ending. I'm glad that they did what they did. Because basically what happened was they ended up tricking Mikami. He ended up panicking and going to get the real Death Note. And so they found out that there was a real Death Note. And so if they hadn't done that, then Light would have won. And so that's why I think that ending and that explanation was great. It was incredible. I think that it was sort of like, you know, when the going gets tough, don't panic. And it was a good lesson learned, because you lost because of that. But I was actually satisfied with the ending. There was no, you know, like, Nier didn't magically come to the right conclusion or magically win. There's actually a very good reason for that, because he was tailing Mikami and he was doing all he could. That said, I still don't like Nier because of, you know, the sort of BS power-ups he got. Oh gosh, it's Fairy Tail all over again. So overall, the story for Death Note is incredible. I mean, it's one of the best stories that I've seen in manga, except for a few little kinks it has here and there. Just the fact that they decided to continue the story, I think, was a bit of a kink. I didn't like how they had to continue the story, but it was really well done, other than some certain parts, so I'll give them that. So let's talk about the characters, alright? Let's talk about Light. Light was an amazing character. Okay, I have to say, he was very intelligent. He learned early off that, you know, he needs to not be so trigger happy and he needs to think things through, and he ends up doing that very well throughout the series. The thing about Misa, everyone hates Misa, of course, because, you know, she's a ditz, she's a klutz, you know, she's a dumb blonde, and everyone hates her because of that. Well, one thing that not a lot of people think about is she is extremely intelligent. When Light calls her stupid, the thing is, she only chooses to be stupid because all she has to do to be happy is to just follow Light and do what Light asks of her. And that's it. She doesn't really need to think, which is a shame because we see how smart she is when she figures out how to find Kira in the first, I think it was the 4th volume when she did that. Yes, she did get tracked, and she was a little stupid and careless. That said, I still don't like how Misa just kind of chose to be a ditz and a klutz. I think a lot of people hate that when characters just in general just kind of stop being cool or smart or powerful when you know they are, like when they stop using their full potential, basically. Same thing happened with Asuna from Sword Art Online. She just kind of sat in a cage for the second half of the first season. As for L, I really loved L. I mean, who doesn't? He's such a lovable guy, you know? L was very good at placing traps, I think, for Kira. And it was really entertaining to watch how, L was sort of wary of Light, and he knew, like, okay, things are a bit too coincidental here. There has to be some connection. I have to say, though, if the Japanese police force, the one with Light's dad and Matsuda and all those other people, if they were not there, L would have very easily caught Light. They were definitely a handicap. I mean, they got in the way of L's thinking and put feelings over logic, and that sort of made the investigation a whole lot harder. Because of the Japanese police force, or the Japanese task force, or whatever, the people who were trying to stop Kira, Light actually ended up sticking it out a lot longer than he could have if the Japanese task force were not there. Now, Nier and Mello are... just... why? I don't see why. Why do you have to drag it out more? And it's just, we don't care about these characters, man. We don't. For Nier and Mello to jump in on it, it kind of made Light the main character, which kind of went against what we all were thinking when we were reading it. That, Light is the main character, of course, but then L is also a main character. They're both main characters. It's basically like a duo, in the main character department, and it was awesome. It was probably the best part of Deathnote. It is the best part of Deathnote, definitely. And so when Nier and Mello jumped in, it just kind of ruined that. It kind of made it seem like Light could go on forever, just killing more and more people who are trying to investigate him. It's kind of like one of those things where, you find a bad guy, and then you're like, oh my gosh, he's super powerful, he's super strong, let's beat him and end it once and for all. You beat him, yay, everyone's happy, and then another dude shows up, so you never know when the final boss is. So that's why I think that they should have ended it with L, is because I feel like L should have been the final boss. L was the pinnacle of difficulty for Light. I don't think that Nier solved it because he was, better than L. Honestly, I think he solved it because he had a bit of the plot to help him. And by that I mean, it was destined for Light to eventually lose and die. And so Nier kind of had that on his side throughout the story. And so that's why I think that Nier and Mello wasn't even like a side character. I mean, he showed up a couple of times and then just kind of vanished off into the distance towards the end. Yeah, this is why I just don't like Nier and Mello, and I think that they should have just cut them out of the story. They should have stopped at L, should have stopped with, Light and L, and ended it there. It would have been it would have been a 10 out of 10 for me. I really recommend that anyone should read this. It's a fantastic manga. The art in it, of course, is fantastic, especially the pages where they introduce a new chapter and they sort of had like an art thingy. Yes. Takeshi Obata is an amazing artist. The art in there is fantastic. I love the whole art that they have between chapters where, it's like a cool cinematic drawing, and it's really well done. I mean, he puts a lot of time into that. And just the characters in general are really well done. I think that he gets the facial expressions, and he nails everything. I think it looks fantastic. It's very, very pretty. I don't find it as my favorite, because while it is good, the only parts that I really, really, really like are just, the cinematic drawings between chapters. So in terms of the art for the story, it's very well done, but it's not exactly my favorite. I think Inuyashiki has to be sort of up there in terms of art, even though they did use some computers and pictures and things like that in them. I still think the art was really well done. Now, in terms of the length of Death Note, it is quite lengthy. I will say that one volume takes me, on average, about an hour to read. So if you really want to read this, you got to put a lot of time into it. It's gonna take you quite a while to read. I was reading it during the February manga challenge, which is still going on at the moment, and I got 2 volumes behind, and I had to read 3 volumes one day and 3 volumes the next so I could catch up. And oh man, it took me so long. It took me such a long time to actually finish it. But if you do have a lot of time to sit down and read a 12-volume series that are about an hour per volume, I really suggest you go and do it, because this is something that, everyone talks about. Everyone has read it. Like, a lot of people have made reviews on this several years ago. In fact, I'm so late coming to this review party or review club. So if you do want to get all of Death Note and read it in print, it is still in print by Viz Media. There's a box set that is on sale for $60, I think. I think that you can probably get it a bit cheaper. The cheapest I've seen it at brand new is $45 on Amazon. Then there was this one time I ordered it for $12, but that was a scam, so I never got it. So I ended up just buying a lot on eBay for about $30. And you can get this series fairly easily. It's fairly cheap for 12 volumes and for the content that you're getting. But I really recommend that anyone who's even starting off with manga try and read this, because it is excellent. But the reason it's so lengthy is because you need to be able to process what's actually happening in the story, because if you skim the dialogue or read it too quickly, you might not even know what's going on. So that's why I really recommend that you take your time and you read it as thorough as you can. That way you are caught up with the story and you know what's going on. Overall, though, I give Death Note a 9 out of 10. Like I said before, it's for the Nier and Mellow bit. I think that it was sort of well done, but there were a couple of points in there where I thought, Nier was just a bit overpowered, and that kind of pissed me off a bit, because at that point, I was so annoyed with Nier that I was kind of rooting for Light, even though I knew the end result. So that's why I think that it's a 9 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10. And I know that some people agree with me, because the average score I think for it on Mal is 8.47, I believe. I can't remember. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this, because this was a lot of fun. I really have a lot of fun relaying my thoughts about certain series, and I definitely need to do this more. I think this is so much fun, a great way to get publicity on my channel, because I know that I've never really done a manga video before. I've done manga hauls, and I've done a first impressions before, but I've never really done a review. And so I hope you guys really give me a lot of support for this, and tell me how I'm doing. Tell me what I can improve on. And tell me if you guys want to see more. The next series that I'm going to be reading, actually starting today, is Bakuman, which was made by the same people who did Death Note. So I'm excited to get to that, and it's just because the series is complete that I want to start reading it. I'm going to read it through and through, and then I'll decide whether I will make a review on it, but I'll be excited to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, in the comments, tell me if you want to see more of these. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.